Welcome to Clay is a four-letter word. My guest today is Josh Heim, coming from Indiana, right?
Yep, Warren, Indiana. All
Warren,
seven of
Indiana.
us. Yeah.
Cool. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for playing along with my silly adventure into another medium and another project on my plate, another side dish on my
Oh,
overly
sure.
full
No,
plate.
it's awesome. No, I
But
totally understand.
yeah, so cool. So welcome to the podcast, and just
Thank
kind
you.
of like it's kind of like I was telling you before we started. It's kind of like a first date every time I do one of these with new
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
So it's like, hey, nice to meet you, and kind of
Nice to
some
meet you. Yeah.
formalities, and then we
Yep.
kind of like get to know each other. So
Yeah.
you've kind of heard me and my ramblings and my stories and my
Sure.
idiocracy, but I kind of know that you're a ceramics guy and you've been doing ceramics for quite a while, and I've kind
Yeah.
of been stalking you, and we've been kind of like insta communicating for a while.
Yeah.
So um like, what's your story, and like
Sure.
what's the Josh Heim version of ceramics?
The Josh Heim, it's amazing. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I can't wait to hear it.
So I was definitely the troublemaker kid, and so sent to my room a lot, which I did a lot of like comic books and all that sort of thing. So I was
Oh
always
yeah.
drawing. Like that's really where it started. And just doodling and all that sort of thing. And then in high school, we learned how to do clay
Nice.
and fell in love with it. It was hand building, which is cool. And then we had one old Amico wheel, like the old, like the splash pan is built into the whole
Yeah.
assembly, like that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And my painting teacher asked me, like, "Hey, you're doing all right with this. Do you want to try the wheel?" So he introduced me to that, and I loved it. It was like straight away, I was like, "This is
Yeah.
awesome." Now I sucked. It wasn't like I was a savant or
Right.
anything. It still took me forever to center. Um, and that was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I'm from.
Okay. Okay.
And I really just got plugged in with the local clay community. There was basically one potter, and his name was Kevin Lehman, and he basically wanted to revolutionize the town with pottery. And
That's
so I got plugged
awesome.
in with them. Yeah, and so you introduce a 17-year-old guy to wood firing
Oh
and
yeah.
mud, and I'm like, sign me up. Like
Yeah,
I'm.
yeah.
How do you do this for life?
Yeah.
Um,
Fire and dirt and water and air, and
exactly. Yeah, I
there's
was
like
like, yes. Yeah, I
yeah.
was like, yes to all of that.
Yeah.
And my parents were super supportive.
That's awesome.
And so I looked at schools, thought about just straight up art, and mom and dad were like, "Hey, you might want to do art ed or just something in case, you know, the, excuse me, the bottom falls out
Yeah.
and you don't have a job."
It's hard to be an artist.
It is, yeah, no
It's really
kidding.
hard to be an artist and make a living and have a family or just pay bills
Yeah.
in general, just selling art. A lot of people do it, but
Mhm.
it,
So went to school in Indiana. That's where I met my now wife, Carrie, and dropped the art ed side of it. I didn't love all the education classes really nixing out a lot of my upper level art courses.
yeah.
And so I dropped the education side, still focused in clay. Actually transferred to Bethel in Minnesota. Was dating somebody else at the time. Uh, not together anymore.
Yeah.
But I really, and I'm glad I did that move. I got to study under a phenomenal instructor and really basically cut my teeth, as it were, in the clay community, and loved it. And then, of course, after I moved 500 miles away, that's when, of course, Carrie and I start dating.
Of course.
Of course, yeah, it couldn't have been when we
Yeah.
were like, dorm nearby each other.
Oh yeah. Well, that
That would
was
have been,
like the seed was, you
yeah,
kind of let that flower grow, and when it was ready to pick the fruit,
yes, exactly.
it's a
So,
it's a process. Yeah.
yeah, so she said yes to marrying me, which was like awesome. So I highly recommend marrying up if you can. Like I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
So we've actually moved back to Pennsylvania for 3 years, and I got to intern and work with that same potter,
Oh,
Kevin
cool.
Lehman, and he runs
After
yeah, after graduation.
all, okay.
And his studio mindset was basically a place for other artists. And so I had a 10 by 15 studio that I paid a monthly fee for. I got to use all of his equipment, so wood kilns, gas kilns, electric kilns, soda firing,
Oh,
all of that. And then he wanted to introduce classes to the community, and I was doing the whole try to sell my pots through art fairs sort of thing,
mhm.
and hated every minute of it.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, I want to open up classes at the community. I need someone to teach the classes. I'll pay you to teach." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And that was the light bulb. That was the ding. I love this. I don't have to try to be on as a salesman. I don't have to try to sell
Yeah.
a mug, every Saturday from May to October. I can teach classes and be around people,
Yeah.
and that was it. So did that for 3 years, and then the wife said, "All right, that's enough. Time to move back towards her family in Indiana."
Uh,
And so we lived in Indy for 5 years, and I worked for Amico for a couple of
oh,
those years. Yeah, that was really cool.
that's cool.
Um, yeah, so I worked in their special projects department, and so when they started layering their Potter's Choice series, which is their Cone Six series, kind of aimed at
Yeah.
us, I was the kind of the catalyst for that layering technique. So
Ah. You
yeah,
did
that
all
was
the
really fun.
tests?
Yeah, I did all the tests. So I got
You
to
were a
throw pots at
tester?
home. Yeah, throw pots at home, glaze them, and then talk with them, and then give their sales reps advice on how to kind of appeal to potters.
Yeah.
Um,
Potter's mindset.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then had our first kid, and ended up still working with Amico a little bit on the side, but then working with a local clay studio called Beech Grove Clayworks, and ran
Okay.
that for 5 years. Having the coolest job ever, basically teaching classes, loading kilns, firing, setting up the gallery, all that stuff. But then somebody else footed the bill. So
Right.
that's the best job to have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd highly recommend that. Um, and then we had a monkey wrench thrown into it. The flower shop and greenhouse that my wife grew up working at in high school came up for sale, which is in her hometown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 6.5 acres, the flower shop, the greenhouse, the farmhouse, quarter mile down the road from her family.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, I wouldn't recommend living that close to your in-laws, but
No.
it's not horrible. It's
Yeah.
not quite everybody
Especially when
loves
you have
Raymond.
kids.
Yeah, we had 2 girls then at the time,
Yeah, it's
and,
like that's
all of
kinda nice.
that was $40 more than our mortgage in Indy,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
like, "That's a no-brainer."
Yeah.
So, that was October 2014, and so we've been here ever since.
Okay.
Built my personal pottery studio, which is JH Pottery Works,
Right.
um, 4 years ago, and I basically modeled it after the 8 years I spent in other clay class based
Community-based
studios.
things.
Yeah, basically. So that's what I've been doing in this community for the last 4 years, is teaching clay classes and then making custom pottery for people. So I walk 40 feet out my door and go to work. I'll take it. It's pretty awesome.
So is that on that's the greenhouse and the flowers, that's all on the same
That's all on the same
it's
property,
all on
all
the
the
same
6.5
property?
acres. Yep.
Oh, I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah.
That sounds so
I'm not
cool.
gonna lie. I wouldn't get into the flower business. Not my cup of tea.
No, but just the
Um,
space sounds awesome.
yeah, it's open and it's quiet, and my neighbor is half a mile away, and everybody knows it. It's full on country songs. Like
Yeah.
everybody waves at everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
knows everybody. Um, if you want, something to get around town, you tell a secretary at the church, and you tell the hair salon lady, and boom, it's
Oh,
word
wow.
spreads.
Yeah. I'm
So
having a pottery sale.
yeah, exactly. Zing, there it goes. So the cool thing is, unless you go to a university, I'm it for clay. I mean, even Fort Wayne, which is only a 20-minute drive, is only slow growing with the clay community, and that's the cool thing. I'm it, and so I
Yeah.
have all these people that are kind of bored, sitting around with nothing to do.
Yeah.
I'm going, hey, I'll teach you how to do pottery for 6 weeks, or a 2 hour event, or give me your kids over the summer. We'll do clay camps for 4 days,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's my story. That's what I've been doing for the last couple of years.
That's awesome. That sounds
So
like you
yeah,
really kinda built like, what you want.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
kinda sounds like this is what I wanna do, and you did it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Now, yeah, there was a lot of
Sounds
help
pretty
from the
cool.
wife. Yeah, she's,
So she
but
does the
yeah,
flower stuff?
yeah. So she manages the flower shop,
Okay.
and also has like an 8 to 4 job. She's in school for an online, or a teacher for an online school,
Oh, okay.
which is super cool.
Hustling.
So yeah, so her office is in the flower shop, so she oversees that, and then we have 3 full-time employees, and then one seasonal when we do the greenhousing, and then I'm it for the pottery studio. So
So do you do much with the flower stuff?
When we started out, yeah, I was like delivery boy and maintenance guy and anywhere we could pick up the slack because you're all of a sudden a small business owner.
Right.
That was kind of the downside to this is there really was no baton passing between the previous owners and ourselves. There wasn't bad blood. They were just they're in their late 70s and just said, "We want to be done. Here you go."
Peace out.
And yeah, yeah, basically. Which isn't, I mean, nothing against them. I
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
it, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was the flower industry. It's massive amount of funerals and all of this stuff, and there
Weddings
was
and
a lot of,
funerals,
yeah, basically weddings and funerals and
prom
anniversaries
season.
and yeah, prom season because we're in such a small community.
Yeah.
We're within a couple miles of three major high schools, so we get
Right.
a lot of their orders. So
Mother's Day and
oh gosh, Mother's Day is insane. It's worse than
What's the
Valentine's Day.
number one, like, what do you guys have to gear up for the most?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day?
That's
Because
the
every
biggest.
mom
Oh,
gets flowers, right?
yeah. Well, and also it's when our greenhouses are open too. So and it's finally after, well, you're in Southern California, so you don't have to deal with frost.
Right.
Um yeah, we get that
We're
luxury.
so spoiled out here. People
Um
complain about the weather in Southern California, and it does get pretty darn hot sometimes, but
yeah.
sometimes I'm like, do you look at the, like, rest of the country, the, like, what happens in the winter in the rest of the
Yeah.
country, where our winter is like, "Oh, I'm wearing, like, a hoodie and
Yeah,
jeans.
exactly.
Oh, it's raining, I might have to tiptoe through some puddles."
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah, rest of the
so yeah,
country is
Mother's Day is
insane.
just it's I mean, everything is finally nice and green and warm enough that you can plant, your own flowers and bedding plants and all that sort of thing. So we're busy in that day alone just to get, all your greenhouse stuff out. So like hanging baskets and planters and things people in window boxes and all that stuff, let
Oh,
alone add
yeah.
in, celebrating mom. So
Uh,
so that's our busiest. And the cool thing is, I have a direct outlet for the pottery. So I do a custom mom mug each year, and we change up the design each
oh,
year.
nice.
Same thing with Valentine's Day. We call them the love mugs, and just kind of change up the design each year. Christmas come out with a Christmas mug and change up the design each year, stuff like that. So people have begun to, kind of wait and anticipate. Oh, hey, we're coming up on Valentine's Day. I can't wait to see what this year's mug
Yeah,
looks like.
that's
Um,
awesome, that's what it's all
yeah,
about, right? Just repeat
yeah, exactly.
customers.
Yeah. So, um, so yeah, and then just selling pots to clients. There's a local brewery that I make all their mugs in Indianapolis, and they have 10 locations. And so I make all the mugs for their mug club memberships. So that keeps me busy, supplemental income outside of clay classes. So,
Is
yeah.
the clay classes your main, like,
Yeah, clay
thing?
classes is the main money income because that's steady. It's every 6 weeks. Well, technically seven. We do 6 weeks of class and then a down week, and then we start right back over. And I teach give or take three classes a week.
Okay,
Usually Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and then a Wednesday morning class. And
awesome.
then yeah, any other time during the week is open studio. So
Oh,
you
that's so
don't.
amazing.
Yeah, exactly. You don't just get class, which a lot of
That's
studios
amazing.
struggled with. Yeah, so they
Yeah.
can they can especially Wednesday morning. You can be in class with me on Wednesday morning from 9 to 11:30, and then open studios from 11:30 to 9 p.m. So you can literally
Wow.
be in pottery for 12 hours if you play your cards right. And
I'm
I have
gonna
people
move
that do
there
that.
and take your class and
Yeah,
just
right.
just use your stuff.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
sounds awesome.
So so yeah, that's what we do, and we have what I call repeat offenders, just like a gym membership sort of thing. We
Yeah.
have people that they've been in my classes for going on 3 years now. And case in point, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, when I say student, she's 60,
Right.
but she's a retired elementary teacher. She is opening up her own pottery studio at her house and having an open house for the first time ever, just to sell her work. And
And she
yeah, it
started
just
with you?
so yeah, she started with me. So, shout out to Deb, and it's called
Your
Oak Road
60-year-old
Studio.
baby?
Yeah.
Your
So
60-year-old baby that you helped
yeah.
create?
So yeah, it's just, and I get stuff like that. So I've sold 7 or 8 pottery wheels to different students that have come through here and said, "Hey, you know what? I think I want to do this at home."
Yeah.
Um, And that's the whole point of this, is to get the people that just want to take class and just have fun, cross it off their bucket list and go, okay, cool.
Right.
Or you get the people that take it for a couple years and then they're kind of done, or the people that really discover, like, hey, I really like clay.
Yeah.
And I'm going, yeah, I know, me too.
It's amazing.
So
It's infectious.
yeah.
It's crazy how, like, I teach high school. This is my 15th year teaching, and every year seems like every year I get 1 or 2 kids that they're like, "Yeah, this
Hmm.
is like, I'm gonna keep doing this." And I have some who are like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do it as a major." And then they start taking classes, and they inevitably take the ceramics class, and they take another one.
Hmm.
And then I have like this one of my students who graduated a couple years ago. She's like messaging me. She's like, "This wheel's on sale on Craigslist. Is this a good deal?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like
Yeah, yeah. And if
you're
you
like
don't
you've
snatch
taken
it
like
up,
2
I
or 3
will.
semesters in college, and now you're like,
Yeah.
you know, buying a wheel." And it's like,
Hmm.
then I have a lot of students that come back, or I have a
Hmm.
few students that have like gone on to like major in it, and it's amazing when we can share this like crazy
Hmm.
thing that like we've discovered, which is kind of a
Yeah.
been around forever. It's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
human beings have
Yeah.
been doing this for 30,000 years or something,
Yeah.
a long time, and it's so not a part of our, like, everyday existence anymore to, like,
Hmm.
create on this primal level, and the
Yeah.
fact that we get to share it, like, I'm personally not, like, a very religious person, but I feel like there's, like, a spiritualness about just
Hmm.
being a human being and connecting with humans,
Yeah.
and there's this amazing connection I think we make is like people that are like into clay and like earth and like you said, earth and
Hmm.
fire and mud. And
Yeah.
it's like we're very like primal,
Yeah.
and it's such a cool connection. And the fact that I feel like we were talking about like the community is so awesome and we're so like embracing of each other. And there's only, a couple people who are kind of
Yeah.
not really cool,
Douchebaggy
not
about it.
really in the
Yeah.
inner circle of the clay club. And,
Yeah.
those little,
Yeah.
those little
It's
turtley
especially
guys, whatever.
especially with the we call it playing clay. That's my 2 hour, like, come bring a group of friends, I teach everybody how to make a bowl, and we pick out a glaze, you take it home later. um Nobody has yet to say, like, I've never wanted to do this. Like, they're always like, I've always wanted to try pottery on the wheel.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is that makes, this medium so approachable. I mean, I've never met people go, I really want to learn how to paint. There's people that are just like deathly afraid of touching, paint to canvas.
Yeah.
But darn it all, they want to get on the wheel. And I'm okay with that. And I'm going, sure, let me show you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah, it blows me away. Everybody's like, you do when we go somewhere, my wife and I, and we're meeting new people, and they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I run a pottery studio and teach clay classes and make custom pottery. And there's that brief, like, what?
That
Like,
exists?
yeah, yeah. They're like, you
You
can,
exist?
man, yeah. And all of a sudden
You're
they start
real?
evaluating, yeah, they start evaluating their job, and they're like, crap, mine sucks. I'm like, he's
Yeah.
doing like he's doing the thing, he set
Yeah.
out to do. And then there's a part of me going, yeah, why aren't you? I don't know. There's But then again, I think it's a personality based thing too.
Yeah,
um
and I think
but
maybe we were stubborn enough or I don't maybe we were courageous enough when we were younger to be like, "No, I'm gonna actually try to do
Mhm.
this and do
Yeah,
it."
there's no fear. Like, I'm just like, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I married my opposite. So I married a math teacher who is structure and organized and lists and
Wait, are
you
you
know
me? Are you
I
me?
guess, yeah.
Because my wife is a paralegal and is
Oh my
like,
gosh,
yeah, she's a
you don't
freaking
win any
paralegal.
argument.
No, and it's like, like we bought a house together and it's like,
Yeah.
you sign the papers and I'm just like, yeah, like just give me the papers, I'll sign it. I'm an idiot. My
Mhm.
wife's like, "No, what's
Yeah,
this?"
let's look at
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, because 'cause I'm just, like, impatient. I'm just like, "Oh, let's just go. Like, let's just go. Like, we're buying this
Yeah,
house. We've
yeah,
done the inspections, we've done everything."
yeah.
And she's like, "But this sentence,"
Yeah.
and it's like, oh. So, yeah, in so many ways, she's my
That's
opposite.
hilarious.
So me and
Yeah.
my wife met on, eHarmony, the
Oh, that's
online dating,
awesome. Hey,
and it's
no,
like
that's
and it's
yeah.
like well, we're gonna match you on like 27 levels of compatibility. That was like the tagline or something.
Okay.
And I was joking, like, we're like 25 or 24 out of 20. Because
Oh
there's the
my
like me who's like
goodness.
the weird artist. kind of
Mhm.
not the most organized, like, and she's like super organized, and it's like crazy how, but we fit together and just like you and your wife kind of complement each other in
Mhm.
the right ways. And
Oh my god, and especially from a business perspective,
yeah,
because she's figured out, if I say, "Hey, I got this idea for this thing," whatever it is, new marketing for the studio or for the flower shop or for the greenhouse or something where we can grow and what I call leveling up, instead of
right,
her saying, "We don't have any money for that," which kind of shoots me down as the creative side, she goes, "Okay,
yeah,
you have $7, and that's a facetious amount, but or even
right,
let's say $50.
yeah,
If I'm given at least that parameter, I can make magical things happen for 50
right,
bucks versus if you tell me, no, you can't do it.
yeah.
Over and over and over, no, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. And I'm like, how about, you give me a little money and, it's like our old art classes. I remember a 3D class where the prof goes, go to the Home Depot, buy a 2x4. The project is due in 2 weeks. You can't turn in the 2x4. And I'm like, okay, cool. That was the project. And it was funny that my wife actually was visiting me and sat in on that class, and her brain couldn't compute the project because she's all math and rules. And she was like, "Well, what are the rules?" And I said, "Well, there
So
are
wait,
no
what was it?
rules."
You had a two by
The,
four,
we had to go to the hardware store, buy a 2x4, do something with it, and then turn it in 2 weeks. What
just
we
whatever
couldn't
you
do,
want,
yeah, whatever we wanted. What we couldn't do is take like the 2x4 and be like, "Here, I'm done." It's minimalism.
right?
Um, yeah, the prof kind of saw through that BS.
Could you paint it a color and then turn it in?
You could, yeah, you could.
You just
Well, I
couldn't
didn't.
turn it,
You
like
just
how,
couldn't turn it in. Yeah. So
today.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
her brain, like the math brain, she could not get there. She's like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Whatever I want." What are the rules? I'm like, "There are no rules."
yeah,
And she just, it was like her shifting without a clutch. It's just, she couldn't get there, and it was that has been monumental in growing our business. Um, because I'll go, hey, I really need a pug mill because I have,
yeah,
14 students, almost every session. We're going through a lot of clay. We're going through
yeah.
14,000 pounds of clay a year. Um, I'm not recycling that by hand. It's nuts. And so I made this cute
No
little
way.
PowerPoint and all of this about, my cost analysis of me recycling clay by hand versus how much
Wow.
the pug mill. Oh, I see. That's what I thought I had to do. She giggled through the whole thing and she was like, you could have just asked. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
But the
So
effort and the that you thought it out, and I'm sure there was an
yeah.
appreciation for the,
Oh
like,
gosh, yeah.
yeah.
Because it really did. It made me think through, which I don't think we do as ceramic artists as much,
Oh,
is the business side of it, the really nitty
that's
gritty, sucky business side of it. It's like, well, I just want to make art. Well, that's cool, but you got to make money too. You got to keep the lights on. You got to do all
yeah,
those things. You got to grow, and you definitely have to level up. And if you don't, then you're just going to be here, and that's
yeah,
fine. If you want to, cool. I don't. That's boring.
right,
I like here for when I have to be, but let's go here and let's take it up a
right.
notch.
And sometimes you
So,
maybe have to go, like, sometimes I feel like I have to go down before I go up. It's
hmm,
hard for me to just keep going up. I have to kinda go, "Woo,
yeah,
woo,
yeah, oh,
woo."
definitely,
That's my I'm in a different position. I'm like a teacher, so
yeah,
I'm can be super lazy and just be like, I teach high school ceramics and I get paid to be
hmm,
around clay and load kilns and mix glazes
sure,
and teach ceramics and then not do all the other stuff. But like you
hmm,
said, I want to level up. Like I want
yeah,
to, and I'm really bad because I'm spoiled on as being a teacher. I have the steady income that I'm so kind of, I'm like, I'm learning to be better at business, but I suck at business. Like I'm like,
gotcha,
I got all these t-shirts that I just did, and I'm like,
yeah,
I ordered them and I got this a screen made and that cost money and I got like nice shirts. I want to make sure I
hmm,
get like nice quality ones. Those are more expensive. And then I had my friend print them and then I included free shipping and I'm like, oh wow. And then I bought more shirts. I'm like,
this is a $40
I'm
shirt.
still in like a well, it's like I'm still in a this one I'm wearing right now is like
Yeah,
$100, but
yeah,
as I sell more of my extras, it'll get a little cheaper. But
yeah,
yeah, but it's like I'm kind of have the attitude of like, well, I'm playing long game, and
hmm,
part of me is just like, now I just do everything and I pay for it, and I don't know what my real goal is, but I just wanna, like, have fun and, like,
Mhm.
make friends and be a ceramics person and, like,
Yeah.
I don't really know. I guess I'm not into doing production work for my own work. I'm trying to do
Mhm.
more of, like, the gallery side, so,
Yeah.
for me, it's easier for me to be I don't have to sell my pots to pay but to keep my lights on, so
Yeah.
that's what's cool about the ceramics community is everybody has a different story or everybody has a
Mhm.
different not a different story, but a different angle. There's, like, the
Yeah.
hobbyist, there's the
Yep.
professional educator, there's the fine art gallery guy, there's the
Mhm.
community leader like you
Yeah.
are. Like, there's so many different angles, and part of me wants to try, like, all of them. Like, what you're
Yeah.
doing, I would so wanna do what you're doing. Like,
Mm.
build a private studio and
Yeah.
have private community-based classes and do the kids' summer camp and do the, like, having, a wide spectrum of people in the studio working together from different age
Mhm.
groups and things, like, that's, like, such a dream.
Yeah, and I went to this past in Sika, and that was actually the not the revelation, that's not the right word, but I was struggling to figure out, okay, I have my social media with my studio. Why am I trying to gear it towards, kind of selling pottery and just posting pictures of what I make when the studio entity that I created is about learning? And I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I trying to force it to be this thing when over here this is what I'm about. This is what I'm successful at in terms of getting clay knowledge to others.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what we're gonna push. And I don't mean push as in like salesy, but like you talked about these hobby potters that are just starting out, they struggle with glaze mixing. They struggle to understand the physics of what's going on inside their kiln with each firing, and my brain just wants knowledge, and so I start reading, I start getting chemistry books and understanding glaze chemistry, and getting to the nitty gritty of it. So when I see a picture and someone's like, hey, I got pinholes again, I'm like, I got a bisque program for you that will solve that, because it's your bisque program, it's not the glaze. And it's little discoveries like that that turned into a DM or an email or a text message of, hey, give Josh a call because he helped me with, glaze pinging issues when the kiln cools, and now I don't have that anymore. Talk to Josh. And
Yeah.
that just snowballed. And so that is now, my goal personally is to, spread that net even wider, get, shoot better videos for YouTube on not how to throw a pot, but this is how you mix a glaze properly, and look at a glaze recipe to understand whether you think it's balanced properly or not. Does it have the right amount of clay to glass to melter to, all those things.
Right.
And not just look at a recipe and go, that's a pretty color, and then go, why isn't it working for me? Well, because it's mostly clay, or something like that.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, there's
um,
a lot of pottery, like, how to make pottery videos already.
yeah,
So
exactly.
there's,
I don't,
it's kind of the smart to, it's hard to, there's already so many resources to do
mhm,
that. So the fact that you're
yeah,
doing kind of, like, leveling up, so people that are like,
yeah,
"Okay, I can know how to throw pots. I wanna have the
hmm,
home studio." Because
yeah,
there's people that are just like nowadays, you don't have to go to school to learn how to do ceramics. There's
hmm,
people that just, like, be on Instagram, be on YouTube,
yeah,
go on to the internet, order
yeah,
clay and a wheel or a kiln or
yeah.
you don't even
Google potters in your area and go
yeah,
go pick
but you
their
don't
brain.
even
Go sit
you
in their
could live in the
studio.
middle yeah, you could live in the middle of nowhere, though. I mean, it's the
Hmm,
now 2019, it's amazing how you could really, having the one-on-one instruction is absolutely really important, but
hmm,
I don't know I heard someone say, like, some teenager, some kid, he was, like, living with his grandma. Who told me the story? But some kid was living with his grandma or something, and she had, like, an old pottery wheel in the, basement that was just sitting there. And he just started, going on to, YouTube and watching the ceramics pottery videos and then got some
yeah,
clay, started learning how to do it, and then all of a sudden he's
exactly.
it's amazing, but it's cool that you're trying to still keep that, the fact that the community, because it's, the one-on-one interactions and the personal
Hmm.
relationships that we build are what's really important, you know? Like, at
Oh
the end of the
gosh, yeah.
day,
Oh my
that's
word,
what's the
yes.
most important thing, the relationships we make and the people, that's what's really important, so the fact that you're
Hmm.
building that in your, small community, that's, amazing. And the fact
Yeah,
that you
and
these, like,
that's
people that keep coming back, like, that's such a
yeah.
testament to, like, you must be doing a really good job out there to get these people to keep coming back,
I
and just the
hope
fact
so.
like, how many people are in your, like, town? Like,
We
uh,
have so our town is 1,000 people. Yeah,
that's amazing.
exactly.
That's
There's
amazing.
a blinking stoplight. That's it. Like,
Like, my high
um,
school has, like, 2,700 students
oh my
at my
word.
high school.
Oh my gosh.
We have,
That's
like, over
insane.
100 I think we have 100 teachers or, like,
Wow.
80 to 100 teachers. We have, like
Yeah.
yeah, our my high school is, like, 2,700 students.
Oh my word. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's our town twice and a half.
yeah, like, fit your
Well,
whole
and
town
what's
into our easily
probably
fit you into our
yeah.
gym.
And it's an ag related community. Like, I mean, I married into a farming community.
Uh,
My father-in-law is a farmer. He has almost 3,000 acres and 50 head
so
of cattle. He grows corn and soybeans.
cool.
So, yeah, and that's I mean, honestly, I joke, but it really is all his fault as to what I have because A, I married his daughter. B, the property of the flower shop that we own, the owners approached him first and said, "Hey, do you want the property since you farm around it?" And he
Yeah,
said, "Call Josh and Carrie." My studio building was a garage on another farmland property that he owned, and he tried to sell it 3 times, and it all three sales fell through. And he goes, "Hey, you drum up the cash to move it, and that's your pottery studio."
nice.
And so we moved a 30 by 40 foot building.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah. So I mean, country style. I mean, hired an
Yeah.
Amish crew. Took all the metal off of it, dropped the walls on hay wagons, and then we found where the town cop was sitting, and then we went the other way.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
and then put it back together using forklifts and tractors and the Amish crew. Like I mean, full on country living.
That's so
Um,
crazy. That's so
yeah,
cool. I mean, to
but
me, like, I'm a suburban SoCal, so to me, that's amazing.
yeah, and it's I mean, and what happened what was it just recently what was a testament for me was, hey, we're doing a good job, is the local electrical company was redoing a lot of power lines, and they were updating from cedar poles to actually metal. And so they were digging down into the ground quite a lot, and this is Northeast Indiana. You throw a rock anywhere, you hit clay, like it's just
Oh,
without a doubt. And um, and I actually had a couple farmers call me and say, hey, we have this clay deposit from them putting an auger down. Can you do anything with it? And I went, yeah, actually, I can. And
yeah,
so we ran
I stalked
tests.
your Instagram and I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's straight up Indiana out of the ground. I didn't do a single thing. I didn't add any ball clay. I didn't add any EPK, no silica, no nothing. And it goes to cone 6 and holds up. And it
That's awesome.
holds, and yeah, and I just mixed up a white glaze, and I'm fiddling around with creating a ball mill so then I can dig up some rocks and then run them through the ball mill and make a glaze, and then literally just have a full-on Indiana pot. So the clay and the
Wow.
glaze come from the ground. Now it's slightly marketing gimmicky, but
But it's
um,
authentic.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
And
100%
so
authentic, so
yeah, I mean, so in my brain, to have a farmer who is a Folgers coffee, meat and potatoes, Bud Light guy make the connection in his brain. Hey, wait a second. Clay comes from the ground. My wife or somebody other talked about a Potter and Warren. I should give him a call. Like the fact that that bridge got connected in his brain says I'm doing something right.
yeah.
Because he's probably never thought about custom pottery, in his life, that sort of thing. He's a
Yeah.
farmer. It's
Yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with him not thinking about pottery. It doesn't cross his brain. He's thinking
Yeah.
about prices of soybeans and diesel fuel and all these other things. But
Yeah.
that I got a phone call to say, hey, can you do something with the clay from my ground? I went, yeah, I can. And can I make you something for it? And you can keep it in your house.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's been enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the baseball coaches at the high school I teach at, he retired last year,
Mhm.
and one of my students who was a baseball player, he asked me, like, a year ago, he's like, "Does the clay the baseball field dirt has the bag says it's clay." I'm like, "Yeah, just bring some of it, like, here's a cup." He knew where
Mhm.
it was. I'm like, "Here's, like, a little Tupperware container. Go get some infield dirt,
Yeah.
and we made it and it turned into like a really nice glaze. And then at the end of the
Huh.
year, I gave him a mug. He retired. I gave him a
Oh, that's
mug
cool.
with the baseball field dirt, and
Oh,
he was like,
wow.
at first he was like, "What?" Because he was like talking to all the coaches, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like, thanks, whatever." And then as he's leaving, he's like, "Dude, this is so meaningful to me. You don't understand." This is like the dude who's like, a
Yeah.
man's man, who's like
Yeah.
tough guy, always joking around, and I could see
Yeah.
he was like, "This is." So I mean, the earth and the dirt and the land that we live on, to some
Yeah.
people, is very meaningful. Just like
Yeah.
the farmer's land is really where
Yes.
he has made his living. The
Yep.
coaches make their living on that baseball field, so
Yeah.
it's cool how we have this connection to the land we live on. At least some of us
Yeah.
do, especially when you get
Oh, gotcha.
such a part of thing. So you do the adult classes and you do the clay camp. So
Yep.
what's the clay camp thing? That's just a summertime thing, or you do that throughout the
Yeah,
year?
that's just no, that's just the summer, and, what I do is just basically it's 4 days, Monday through Wednesday, we take Thursday off, and then they come back Friday and glaze. And it's full on clay. So I mean, pinch pots, slabs, the wheel. Sometimes we'll do coil. It depends on the ages that we get, but we had over 20 kids come through this past summer, which in a town of 1,000 people
Yeah.
is pretty decent. And then we made shirts for them this year and all that sort of thing. And then I'm like I said, constantly trying to figure out how to level up. And so even just something as simple as taking my GoPro and shooting a 20-second video of just saying, "Hey, mom and dads, want to get your kids out of the house for 2 hours? Call me. Let's do clay camps."
Yeah.
And then just post that on social media and just spread it. And what parent isn't going to go, yeah, yeah, let's get them out of the house, but then let them get them do something artsy and fun and exciting. And I
Yeah.
think I did the same thing for date nights. It's like, are you tired of the Target, Chick-fil-A, Costco date on a Friday? Like, come do a 2-hour clay session. Like,
Yeah.
let's change it up.
That's big
um
everywhere. Like, all over the
mhm,
country, people are doing it that have those, independent ceramic studios.
yeah.
They have like they have like it's like a painting class, and you
Yeah,
drink
like board
wine,
and
and
brush, or yeah, wine
yeah.
and
So, I
canvas.
mean, it's so easy to build a little date,
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
that's cool. What about, do you do like, because I know I got kids, so, and I'm a teacher, so do you ever think of doing like a winter break holiday, drop your kids, I guess maybe not winter break, but
That's kind of tough.
Easter
So
break, spring break, you know,
yeah, that's where the 2-hour sessions really come in. Like in this
the
area,
drop in kinda.
yeah, in this area, because winter and spring break are cold, and
Uh,
so people want to scatter. They want to go south, or something like that. So spring break people are usually Florida, the southern states.
okay.
Um, so
Yeah, see, I'm in
Christmas,
SoCal. We're
yeah,
spoiled.
it's
Oh, it
always
gets hot. It gets cold in the winter, I forgot.
yeah, it
It's so
does.
cold during spring break. Ah,
Yeah.
yeah,
My favorite is when you got
sorry.
to heat a greenhouse with propane and it's, -2 outside. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can hear the propane tank emptying. It's,
Jeez.
but that's part of it. It'd be like complaining over paying for clay. I'm like, well, you need it to make pots. So why are you griping over, paying for clay versus, paying for gas to heat your greenhouse? You want your plants to die? No. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, so yeah, what we're actually doing now is using the pottery to get our foot in the door in other businesses with the flower shop or the greenhouse. So like there's a cocktail lounge in Fort Wayne, and I made a lowball glass with their logo on it. And met a buddy there, had drinks, really enjoyed it. And then I asked the manager over and I said, "Hey, this is from me to you. This is for the owners. Keep it, enjoy it. Has all my business cards and information in it, but just, I really like what you guys are doing here." And a couple weeks later, we get an email that they want to sit down and chat with us about doing events there with pottery.
Oh,
Do we do
nice.
any decorations? I go, "Yep, we got a flower shop and a greenhouse. We can decorate your outside patio with hanging baskets and
Yeah.
all of that." And you know I am not above at all using a free mug to get our foot in the door somewhere,
Yeah.
and then level up, because we now have, like I said, a cocktail lounge that is in a large city like Fort Wayne, using um, our flower shop, which is a 30-minute drive from them, to decorate their patio. Now they could easily walk down the road and pick any flower shop in Fort Wayne, but because I gave them a free mug with our
Yeah.
logo on it, they called our shop.
Yeah.
So, and it cost me what,
Yeah.
5 whole dollars maybe in clay and
Right.
firing to make
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
do
yeah.
you don't do really online sales or, like, pottery sales? You just do kinda
I don't
direct?
know. I've really, like I said, it was I walked away from that once I figured out I really like teaching people pottery and having clay sales as a side gig.
Yeah.
Um, Now what I'm discovering is, pottery that sits in our flower shop for months and months and months isn't moving. Well, we don't have a lot of foot traffic in the flower shop. Where is there tons of foot traffic? Quote unquote, online.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the next venture is to dive into, Shopify or Squarespace and start finding a second avenue just to move more pottery. Um, for the brewery I make mugs for, I probably make 150 to 200 mugs a month for them.
Wow.
Plus the clay classes, so it's one of those like I don't need to make more pottery for other people.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have to, but the same, $60 massive serving bowls in the flower shop have been sitting there, doing nothing.
Right.
So, online is a phenomenal platform. So how do I
Yeah.
get those out the door? And I'm also thinking that in terms of our flower arrangements too. What knick-knacky things do we have sitting in our flower shop that could also benefit from an online picture to get out the door? So um, that's the next idea ish is to dabble in online sales
Yeah.
because the brewery mugs aren't going to last forever. I can't rely on that for the next 20 years.
Right.
Um, I'll either get fed up with it or want to pass it along to another up and coming potter and say, hey, here's a really cool client. Don't
Mhm.
screw it up. Um, but yeah, I'm yeah looking for other avenues.
Yeah, the
So
world's a
what to
big
do?
place,
Yeah.
like, it's amazing to, like with the internet, social media, and, you know I'm like I started making these, like, stupid ceramic memes the last
Uh-huh.
couple
Oh my
weeks.
gosh. I am loving them.
Yeah, well, and then,
Like,
like, this
oh,
one guy from, like, New Zealand is, like, messaging me, and he's like, "Oh, like, these are awesome, like, I make memes
yeah.
too, and, like, we should start a page." I'm like, "I already got, like, too many things, but, like, you can use all mine, like, I don't care." And then, like, a minute later, he's like, "Done." Like, he started another pottery meme page. I'm like,
Oh my
"Awesome."
word.
Like,
Cool.
cool,
Nice.
like, whatever, like, memes are part of our popular culture, and I know people that aren't into ceramics would look at them and be like, "I don't understand what these words mean."
Yeah,
Like, I
exactly.
don't
Yeah.
understand, what does this cone mean? Like, what do you mean
Yeah.
cone? What is a
Yeah.
cone? Like an ice cream cone?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, Ceramics people are like, "Oh, that's so
Oh yeah.
funny." Like, "Ha ha." But yeah, it's something fun to do. I've been struggling to be in my studio and be productive as I wanna be, so
hmm
I find myself being productive in other ways, like
And see, and
making meat.
that's what's interesting. Like I'm struggling with making something that I don't have to try to sell. Like does that like that doesn't
Yeah,
well, I
just
don't think I
something for
said that.
yourself,
Yeah. And
just to,
so
like,
and I have
play.
yeah, and that's what I mean, that's what the mug I was drinking out of. This
Yeah,
is
that's
kind of
cool.
been fiddle farting with underglaze techniques and
Yeah,
just messing around with uh Eric Botbull does a whole lot of like underglaze bisque,
yeah,
more underglaze bisque again, all that sort of thing. And I had one of my students actually challenge me and he was like, look, you keep saying, you have time to teach us how to make pottery, but you're always making mugs for the brewery or you got to make pottery for the flower shop. And you're like, when are you going to make something with us?
uh,
And it was oh, you you have a point.
you just called me out.
um,
Not called you
yeah,
out,
which
but, like,
no, in a good way because
yeah,
I'm a
like, you need to play,
I
dude. Like,
yeah,
Josh,
I do.
you need to have a little fun and
Yeah,
stop working all the
and
time
yeah, exactly.
and, like, have a little that play time is important.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so that's basically what we spent the last 6 weeks on. And I'm a thrower. Like that's what
Yeah,
I typically do. When I have to buckle down and do production throwing, I can in a pinch if I need to. And the most recent mug for the brewery has all been slab work. And so that has really upped my slab content. And
Yeah.
so I said, okay, cool. Let's get outside the box and just make something I don't normally make and do something I don't normally do, and then pick and choose, say like three pictures on Instagram of other potters that I just constantly go back to and go, okay, take ideas from them and let's make it together. Now, the hardest part for me was working at that slow of a pace, in that, I do something on Tuesday, I wait until next Tuesday night's class to show them the progress
Oh,
so they can keep up with me,
yeah.
versus I'll solve it in an afternoon because I'm in here all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was challenging for me to slow down to that extent. um, but then I start producing something I really enjoy and going, hey, we got a new idea here. I don't think I'm going to sell it in the shop or maybe online because it'd be kind of pricey, but man, I had a blast doing it,
Yeah.
and I want to make more,
That's
that sort of
good.
thing. So
Well, that's what they're like, with you just thought about Eric at
mhm.
Companion, like, they have all those
Yeah.
open calls,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
so just, like, make stuff to submit to the
Yeah.
open calls, and because
That's
that
what
might be
Isaac
fun
was
for
talking
you.
about.
That might be fun for
Yeah.
you. It's just the art, because it seems like you're very, like, you're working to make pottery to, like, production stuff,
Yep.
which is, like, awesome because you're on
Yeah.
clay glazes, but
Yeah.
seems like that'd be fun because that's a pretty cool cup that you had there, and if you
Yeah.
just did that
Thanks.
if you did one like that, and that's just,
Yeah.
like, first one, and I know from my own experience, like, the prototype is exciting when you make it, but when you
Yeah.
take that idea of the prototype and make, like, 100 of them or
Yeah.
50 of them, like, the
Yep.
50th one or the 100th one is gonna be like, "Ooh," like,
Yeah.
"Now
That's
now I'm
now
getting
I've
somewhere."
reached. Yeah.
So,
Like
yeah,
I actually showed your sneaker mugs to a buddy tonight who's just a diehard sneaker guy, and I'm like, you need to see these because you're gonna lose your mind over his sneaker mugs. And was showing, he was swiping through and he's like, these are awesome. He's like, couldn't you make something like that? I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't, nope. I was like, I will let Ryan do that. And I said, Ryan's pursuing that. Let him go for it. I said, I like, go get one of his. Um,
it takes so long. It's, like, driving me crazy.
but
It's like
they're
taking
so
I
cool
like
though.
making them, but I'm like,
Oh
I
my
just wanna,
gosh.
like I just don't have the time, and I just need to make more time. I mean, I don't know how I can make more time, but
Yeah.
I just wanna finish the ones I have and start another batch, but I'm like that meme I made with the guy looking back, that,
Yeah.
like,
Oh my
square
gosh, that was
I'm walking
hilarious.
with the big square, and I'm like, "Yeah, we're on the ride," but I
Yeah.
got 5 pounds of clay, like, sitting here. I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like, I know what I'm gonna do with the next version, and I wanna,
Yeah.
like I gotta I gotta address the baby sitting there, and people are asking me, and but yeah, they take a long time. There's a lot of steps, so
Oh, I bet.
definitely been an exercise in patience, and I'm super
Mhm.
sloppy and clumsy, so it takes me even longer because I'm a professional idiot, but it works.
Sure.
So how do you have 3 kids, so how do you
Yeah.
balance all these, like, things that you got? Do you sleep?
Um,
Are you,
I
like, someone
do.
that but do you are
Yeah.
you someone that, like, I know you're on the East you're not East Coast, but you're East Coast time,
Yeah.
and it's late for you. Is this,
Yeah.
like, a normal day for you to be up
It is. Yeah. I'm very much a night owl. Like
okay,
um, I get during the day, ballpark, I get 2 hour allotments or so, is what I've kind of figured out before something might come up and interrupt me. Because at the end of the day, I still have to be a dad. I still have to be a husband. I still have to be co-owner to a flower shop with my wife.
yeah,
So I don't get the choice of to say, "Hey, Josh, we need a delivery to go to thus and such, but we have to make these arrangements. Can you please take them?" I have to say yes. And, my name is
yeah,
on the building too. So I know those can come up during the day. So if not schedule them, but if I'm aware of the fact that something at any moment could pull me out of the studio, I'm not shocked by it. And
yeah,
so I've learned to work in, get up in the morning, help get the kids ready, make them lunches, make a little doodle, in their lunch, and
yeah.
take it to them, make pancakes, and the two oldest are off to school, and then me and the 2.5-year-old come out here, and we're in the studio pretty much all morning till lunch.
That's so cool.
Yeah, or now we're very involved in our community, and so we sit on the Chamber of Commerce and other
Oh,
PTO boards,
wow.
and yeah, And so, the littlest comes to chamber meetings with me, and
That's
people
awesome.
don't think anything of it. If they see me
Yeah.
without the kids, it's odd.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, where are the girls? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm on the board, not them.
Yeah.
um, and then, now that the oldest two are in school, there's still nap time for the 2.5-year-old. Sometimes daddy too. Every now and then you
Yeah.
you squeeze in a 20-minute on the nap or on the couch,
Yeah.
um, and then again, just work if I can till supper, and then if I have to teach clay class, I go teach clay class. But the utmost important thing, I will literally drop everything I'm doing in the studio at a moment's notice to go in and do bath time and read a story and be a
Yeah.
dad. Like, I that was a conscious decision,
Yeah.
I made, of like, no, I'm gonna go to the ball games that I can physically make.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna be a dad. If that means I don't get to be in the studio until 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
that's life. Suck
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Put on some jamming tunes, get a beer, and crank it out till 1 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. Um,
I feel you.
because I get to watch my girls get on the bus,
Yeah.
or it's stuff like that. So um, that's not every day. Some days I get to be in the studio all the time. Some
Yeah.
days I got to be the flower shop owner and,
Yeah.
go drive to Fort Wayne at 5 o'clock in the morning to pick up flowers because,
That's what
we
you gotta
have,
do.
yeah, you do.
Your
And
name's on the
so,
building
yeah, exactly.
and
I
on the
don't get to
business
say
card and
no.
on
Yeah.
the license and everything.
So, um, I've tried to really govern that phrase of like, well, I didn't have time, which I might not have. I've chosen to be like, hey, I didn't make it a priority. I'm sorry. Like, it's
Yeah.
just because I'll make it a priority. Shoot, do I make Netflix a priority? Sometimes it's like, doggone it, I made that too much of a priority, and now I got to eat it and go sit in the studio late at night and get up early to help get the girls ready for school. So I'm tired. Well, why are you tired? Because you chose to be a bum. That's why you're tired. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Because you had to watch Stranger Things or whatever.
or House of Cards or The
Yeah, whatever.
Boys. Oh man,
That's that
uh,
new that's
on
the superhero
Amazon,
one?
yes,
Yeah.
highly recommend.
Oh, really?
Superheroes from a completely different approach.
Yeah, it's like the
Um,
superheroes are kinda like spoiled jerk
yeah,
assholes, and they're
they're
like kind of
corporatized.
yeah, they're like
Yeah,
corrupted. Yeah,
yep,
I saw the preview. I have a hard like I the only time I get to watch TV is when I'm in the studio. So it's more
okay,
of a, like a listening thing.
yeah,
So it's like I listen to like podcast or I listen to
yep.
music I'm weird that I can listen to pro wrestling and it entertains me because
Oh,
I can like
nice. No,
I
that's
can
not.
I can like listen to it and it's like, oh my god! I'm like, oh, I'll like put my glasses on and watch. I'm like, oh wow, that was pretty crazy. But it's just
That's awesome.
like I wish I could watch more. I have a hard time just being able to watch anything nowadays.
Hmm.
The last thing I forced myself to watch the Han Solo movie because it
Okay.
had been on my like I go on Netflix and it's always like recommended, recommended, and I'm like,
Hmm.
grew up with Star Wars, so I watched that kind
Sure.
of halfway. I wasn't that as productive that night because I
Yeah.
could spend more time like
Yeah.
painting or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
Yeah.
Boys looks cool. I'll have to check it out.
It's really neat.
Um,
Yeah.
so I put the little question thing up,
Yeah.
and Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery Studio.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear this one.
So she didn't really. So it's funny. She like didn't quite have a question, but
Okay.
it kind of started a thing. So let me just
Okay.
find it quick because I'm an idiot. I didn't have it ready.
Now,
So it's not
Becca and
ready.
I met, so her and Ryan Durbin did a
Yeah,
pot swap. And that's how the three of us met and then became BFFs. And yeah, so Becca and Ryan and I pretty much, we stay in pretty good contact with each other.
yeah. Have you listened to their
So
podcast?
yes. Yep.
Yeah, theirs is cool. I like their just kind of back and forth. I watched them do the live thing a few times,
Okay.
or watch the replay of their live they would
Yeah.
do. Or I think I've watched it live a few times, and yeah, it's cool how they kind of have. It's interesting for me not being a business person to
Hmm.
get your guys' like you and like other people's business perspectives. Or there's like the boldly podcast. Have you listened to
Yes.
that one? And
Yes.
that's
Yep.
totally like creative entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
I'm like a freaking weird high school teacher making sneaker mugs, so
Hey,
It's
that's
cool
okay.
that with these different podcasts, we all kinda have our own, angle or our own different take on the
Well, I think it
interesting
also, I
approaches.
mean, it reflects the pottery we make too. Like you make
Yeah,
different things than I make, than Rebecca, than,
yeah,
Alyssa from Auk Clayworks
yeah,
and Ryan. And it's just like how we approach our own personal ceramics to how we approach business in the world. And
yeah,
um, I love it. I love being able to listen to Ryan and Becca's and then switch over to Boldly and then listen to yours and just jump around from that and get
yeah.
three
Did you
different
listen to the Potter's
perspectives.
Cast?
Yeah, listen to the Potter's Cast.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's the OG one, so,
yeah. So
yeah,
what did Becca have to say?
oh,
Or
sorry.
where
So
did it start?
she said, okay, I just had it. My phone locked. It said, I don't have a question, but I just want you to know that he's literally the shit and the smartest. And then I was like, okay. And then and then I messaged her. I was like, okay, like we need a little more like
Yeah,
clarification on this statement you've made. So I was
yeah.
like,
Oh,
can
Becca,
like
that's awesome.
do you have like any more I'm like, oh, how do you know him? And he's just like, she kind of
Mhm.
told me, gave me a little background.
Yeah.
Um, and then he said, but the one that she told me that I really liked, she says, if Simon Leach and John Britt had a baby, Josh would be it. And he said those were your words, not hers. So
Yeah.
because you're the
Oh, wow.
brainchild of Simon Leach and John Britt. Or I don't know if she
Yeah.
meant Bernard Leach or Simon Leach, and I know John Britt. So
Yeah.
you're just like
Oh,
a
man.
ceramics nerd and
I
like know
yeah,
all the
I
stuff.
eat it up. I don't know why that is what clicked in my brain, but it was I'm having this problem in clay. Why? My glaze is doing this. Why? And not to move to social media right then and ask that question, because then you'll get, who's who of, you know, dumb tall tales of, hey, if you put a hold for extra 30 minutes and hop on one foot, it'll fix all your issues. No, it won't. You're like, that's not based in anything, you idiot.
Yeah,
And it was just that constant, well, why this? Okay, then why that? And just being hungry to understand that knowledge for my own sake. And then again, like I said, that epiphany at Ensika of, why am I not sharing that with everybody else? And so, Becca was having, like I said, firing issues. And so it was okay, let me give you an awesome bisque program that I've really enjoyed, that alleviates exploding pottery and, basically gets that down to zero. Even with insane thick work or student work or stuff like that, or better understanding your glazes, or like I said, just all that stuff. And so, like I said, that just turned into DMs or emails or, hey, I'm
yeah.
struggling to find a clay. What would you recommend and why, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, she and I were texting each other today because she was on me about, not having more YouTube videos on those exact things. So, like, I have a recent YouTube video about how to reglaze an already fired pot. You know,
I watched that, and I was so
yeah,
happy that your explanation, because that's the
yeah,
same kind of thing that I do. It's like you gotta
yeah,
get it hot. It's
yeah,
you gotta yeah,
exactly.
get it hot.
And the little blonde really helps my videos.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Rebecca was like, you need to have Kay in your videos from now on, and I'm like, yeah.
yeah, she
And
should just
she's
be
like,
the
and
host.
yeah, she's like, and you
Let her
got to
do the
keep the
intro and
blooper.
outro, and
Yeah. So, and I actually accidentally made the blooper reels first when I first learned how to fiddle with my GoPro. And I went, oh, okay, now I know how to make the real videos. But then
yeah,
I'm like, well, we got to keep the blooper ones because
yeah,
I'm like, while I'm all for science and knowledge and being serious, I'm going to do a fart joke. I'm sorry. Like, it's just,
yeah.
we
You gotta
got to
have
have
fun.
shenanigans.
You
Yeah.
gotta have
So,
fun.
like, January 1st, I was voted in as president of our Chamber of Commerce.
Oh,
And I had to host all the meetings and lead them and all that sort of thing. But they're right at lunchtime on a Wednesday. I'm coming straight from the studio.
oh, nice.
So what do? I come literally in all of my clay get up. I
Yeah.
grabbed a necktie out of my closet, did the necktie over a grubby t-shirt, and sat in and did a meeting. Like, fine, you want me professional? This is what I look like
Yeah,
professional.
yeah,
um like, you're gonna get me at the realist. I'll be
yeah,
serious. We'll talk clay, but we're gonna have shenanigans as
yeah,
well. So,
yeah.
I guess that sparks, yeah, Rebecca's. That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a cool compliment. That's humbling too.
yeah. It's nice to be it you earned it, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
thanks.
or you earn like, at this point, we've earned the compliments that we get if people say we're doing
Yeah.
good, and we earn the criticism if we're not doing good.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I want too. Like, hey, if I'm screwing it up, let me know. Like
Yeah.
right away, let me know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got, harshly criticized on my little podcast thing. I was like,
mhm.
"Oh, like, maybe I say like too much and I interrupt people, so I will work on that. Will try to not be as profane, but at the same time, it's hard to not be myself, but
Yeah.
kinda like, "Oh, man, sorry, like, I don't even deserve 1 star." It doesn't bother me. It does bother me, but it doesn't bother me 'cause it's 1
Sure.
person. At the same time, it's like, "Oh,
Yeah, you think about it.
am I really
Yeah.
that awful?" But then it's like, well, I guess if they're not hating there's, like, the Howard Stern approach. Like, well,
Yeah.
maybe they don't like me, but they'll listen to me because they don't like me, but I really don't care if
Yeah.
they listen or not because I don't have any expectations of monetizing this. It's just for fun, so it's
Yeah,
just about building the
exactly.
community.
You enjoy it.
I did have a question from one of my current students, Chris
Okay.
Bowman, or the Bowman, and he asked, "What was the hardest thing for you to learn in ceramics?" If you had something that you have struggled
Hmm.
to get, even if it was back when you first started,
Now that's a
This is coming from a high
yeah,
school 2nd year, not my best student, nice guy,
sure.
not my,
No.
uh, not my most productive individual, but a kid I actually really like, but
Yeah, the hardest, the hardest, the hardest, the hardest. Man, I think oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The hardest for me was dealing with the gap, and I know we're a podcast, so if I do hand motions, it's kind
it's
of,
okay. There's a
lost.
YouTube version too that nobody watches,
Exactly.
but there is a YouTube version.
Hey, I've
Yeah.
watched it
Oh,
on
cool.
that TV back there when I
Oh,
need to be in the
awesome.
studio. Yeah, I'd highly recommend putting the TV in
Yeah.
front of the
I have
wheel you
my
work at.
studio too.
Anyway, to
Yeah,
answer
I
the
have one
question,
right there.
yeah, the gap that is between your skill set and your aesthetic. So, like, I like good pottery, and through how long I've been doing this? Professionally, 13 years. Okay, so let's back it up to 16 years. I like good pottery even when I was in high school. I knew what good pottery looked like. I knew what I liked, except the problem was I sucked at making it. But my brain said, well, you should be good at making this because you like good pottery. And so when I would sit down and try the wheel, it would frustrate me to no end because I couldn't get it as quickly as my brain wanted me to get it and get success, not successful monetarily wise, but like get successful at achieving the goal I wanted to achieve.
Yeah. The look that you
Um,
wanted to look like.
yeah, yeah. I think, in my brain, if you give me a guitar, it's straight up Led Zeppelin, like all
Right.
day, every day. But if you
Yeah.
physically gave me a guitar, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
Like, there's
Yeah.
no way. In my
Yeah.
head, oh, all day long.
Yeah.
Um, and I tell my students that, like, look, you, especially if you are mid 40s, early 50s, whatever, mom or dad, you've spent 50 years establishing things you like and things you don't like, food, clothing, design, style, the cars, all of that. And you're going to come to a medium that you can appreciate and you're going to suck at it and it's going to frustrate you because there's that gap.
Yeah.
And my goal in the 6 weeks is to get that gap smaller and make you feel really good about what you're producing. And so that was my hardest. I think that would be my hardest thing that I had to get over was why am I not good at this yet?
Right.
Well, you haven't put in the wrench time. Like it's
Yeah.
so
What is it, like
yeah.
10,000 it's like 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at
Oh, I
something? There's
have
some kind of like, I think it's like 10,000 hours or something. If you do something for 10,000 hours,
yeah.
you've achieved a level of, like, really understanding something. So,
Well, I
when you
know
put
in
10,000 hours in on the wheel,
yeah,
then
I
you can
know
see
when
how to throw a pot.
when we were in college, we had to throw 100 cylinders and every single one that you had to cut it in half and the prof would come by and assess your wall thickness and
Yeah.
floor thickness and literally you started right over.
Yeah.
And by the time you got to cylinder 101, you're looking at cylinder 2 like, "Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
wow, that's bad." Um, yeah, I think Witchford Pottery in England, they make, terracotta outside planters and all that sort of thing. I think you have to apprentice for 13 years, I think, before you get on your own and can make pots, like, without someone over your shoulder, and I'm sure that that equates to, 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
what it takes to establish that, and I think that was a quote too, like, "The difference between the master and the beginner is the master has failed more
Yeah.
times than the beginner has tried."
Yeah.
And yeah, that's and dealing with that and dealing with failure because you're gonna have it.
Yeah.
So just welcome it, give it a hug, dwell in it, and then move on. Go,
Yeah.
okay,
That's
cool.
exactly
Make
what I tell my students. Like, we just started the school year, and I have 3 beginning ceramics classes with 33 kids that maybe
hmm
didn't really want to take ceramics. They just
hmm
"Oh, ceramics is an art elective, and it's, not the hardest class, and the teacher lets us listen to music while we work."
Yeah.
And so I have kids that are just like, they think it's gonna be easy, and it's, like, frustrating and hard, and I'm like, "Yeah, everybody starts at suck." Like, everybody's
Yeah.
gonna suck. Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of you are gonna suck a little less, and some of you are gonna suck a little more, and, there's this, I have this old photocopied paper that my college professor gave me, and I made photocopies it, so it's so bad, but I still show it to my students. It's like it's from a book, and it says perfection, and it's like,
hmm
first day of school, the class, the professor divided the group into 2 groups, and one group had to make 1 pot all semester, and it had to be 1 perfect pot. The other group solely got weighed on, like, how many pounds they made. So whoever had, like,
hmm
whoever made the most pots got an A, and then they just weighed those groups. And it was like, at the end of the semester, the kids that went through all the crappy pots, that the
hmm
first 1,000 or 100 pounds of pots they made, the next 100 pounds of pots they made were amazing, whereas the
Yeah.
person that was struggling to make 1. So there's definitely value in just, like, starting over and making and, like,
Gosh,
learning
yeah.
deal with, like, failure, and that's the try to, like, that's the life lesson I try to impose on my students that they're gonna get out of my class, is like, you're gonna
Mm.
suck anytime you start something new, you're gonna suck.
Yep.
And you have to be okay with, like, sucking. Like, if you wanna
Yeah.
go do something new, like, realize the people that are, even doesn't matter age or anything else, like, you go to, I always, like, I've never done it, but I've always been like, "Oh, like, the jujitsu, right?
hmm
Like, that's really a very humane way to, like, defend yourself. Like, "Hey,
hmm
if I'm gonna be attacked, like, I put you in a chokehold, and it's like, 'Stop attacking me, or I'm gonna, like, break your arm or choke you.'" And I
Yeah.
imagine, like, God, if I went to a class now as a 42-year-old
Yeah.
male, I could go in there, and I could get, like, a, I don't know, 8, 10, 12-year-old little girl could probably, like, choke me out and break my arm. You know? If she's
yeah.
been doing it long enough, like,
hmm
a child could possibly, like, get me in an arm bar or a
Yeah.
chokehold because they know what they're
Yeah.
doing, because they put the hours and hours
Exactly.
and hours and hours
Yeah.
in. So it's like, yeah, we think we know what we're doing. Like, I know a lot about ceramics, but I
hmm
know nothing about jujitsu, so
Yeah. Exactly.
like, I could
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
um, so like I told you when we first started, I left my charger at work, so my percentages are getting low, so I'm gonna ask, I got my last couple questions,
Okay.
the, um the big question that I ask is always, do you have any epic disasters in your life as a ceramic artist, where you really had to drop a couple four-letter words,
Yeah,
or
I had
or any injuries that are significant? Any
no injuries have been pretty good. I'm pretty conscious of like, what my hands are doing, what I'm around, what I'm near.
no
Um,
metal bits of death?
yeah, because I mean, especially with a pug mill, I put my
Yeah.
hand in there and it's game over.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm gonna put my hand in there, let's unplug the machine. Just like
Yeah, yeah.
little stuff like that. Same thing with the kiln. When you're dealing with something that's pushing 46, 50 amps, no, I'm already out all my hair. I don't need any
Yeah.
help. Like it's not going to look like Marv from, Home Alone. So,
Right.
um no, I had one ceramic casualty. I had a huge order for a local church that just built a new building, and it was my wife's grandmother's church that ordered all these custom stamped tumblers. And I was driving them to the studio I was working at. Thought I packed them perfectly, and a whole bunch of them shattered at bone dry.
Oh,
And I also had miscounted. I think I had to make like 150, 200 of them, or maybe it was even more. Whatever the number, it was insane. But I remember having to literally stay up for 24 hours and just throw and stamp and throw and stamp and throw and stamp. And the next morning was my wife's birthday, and I bought her like an hour-long massage at a really ritzy hotel in Indy. And she, she came out and like woke up and made sure I was okay and made me coffee and all that. We ate breakfast, and I finally caught up and made as all the pots I needed to. We drove to the massage, and she's on the table getting massage, and I'm sitting in the chair, and apparently I fell asleep. I
yeah.
mean, just zonked out
Out.
because of
Yeah.
just, yeah. So yeah, that was, yeah. I've pulled all nighters, for a drawing class in college, but this was all nighter as a 28-year-old, 29-year-old, with a kid, and that was,
Yeah.
you don't bounce back from that as quickly
Yeah.
anymore.
I only
So
drink so much coffee.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've there've been a lot of lessons of like, you know, yes, last minute panic is an amazing motivator,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it doesn't have to be. If I know, I need to make mugs every month for this brewery, why do I
Yeah.
wait till the last minute and do it and stay up late hour? Why don't I just make 10 a day,
Right.
or 15, and just do that.
Yeah.
So
We all learn and we get better over time. Well, some of us do,
yeah,
right?
yeah, hopefully.
We learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if people wanted to get a hold of you or wanted to sign up for if they live in your area and they wanted to sign up for a class and they're not already aware, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Your
Yeah,
plug.
hey, I am on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, JH Pottery Works, and that's the name of the website too, jhpotteryworks.com.
Consistent across
Um,
all platforms.
yep, I try to be.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good strategy, I think.
yeah.
So people don't have to remember
Um,
one name. As
yeah,
long as
exactly.
you can get your name on all the things, it's like
Well, and that was the
way
other
to go.
thing too, like what to name the studio, because a lot of people, Ryan Reich Ceramics,
My name,
um,
what I
that's
do.
your name, and that's what a lot of potters do. Except, well, okay, so Josh Heim Pottery. Well, then, and people in their brain they get, oh, well, it's just pottery. Well, let's name it, Clayworks, or something that means this entity
More
is
broad.
greater, yeah, than just Josh the person.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's
so yeah,
cool.
that's kind of what that was the
Yeah.
idea behind that.
It's awesome.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for being a guest on Clay the Four Letter Word. I'm gonna hit the button and I'll talk to you on the flip side. So
Okay, sounds
thanks
good.
Josh for
You're
our
welcome.
chat and hey, thanks for listening or watching my conversation with Josh Heim. It was really fun. Josh is kind of doing something really cool out in Indiana where he's at, and the gig he's got going and building his community. I got my shirts printed and distributed out. I think I got one small shirt left. I think I'll be making some more, so sooner or later I'll probably post those for sure. For sure before the holidays. I don't know if it'll be before then, but by the end of the holiday season, I'll have another run of it going. Thanks for those of you that have been listening and watching this. I appreciate when you guys click the little subscribe button or leave a review or rate it. That's cool. I appreciate all the positive reviews that are on there. You guys listen to this wherever you guys listen to get your podcasts. It's on most of the major ones, the iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and Podbean, and I don't know. Just Google it. It's the easiest way to do it. Just Google it and it shows right up. You can thank my wife and kids for putting up with me and Josh Heim for hanging out and having a conversation with me every Tuesday, trying to get one of these out. Hopefully this is out not too late on Tuesday morning. On Instagram, you can follow me at Clay is a 4-letter word, and you can follow me at Ryan Reich Ceramics on Instagram. On my own stuff, I'm working on getting some sneaker mugs glazed, and it's a slow process, but I got a deadline for a show, so I'm going to try to get a couple out by then, and some other people have been asking me, so I'm working as fast as I can, but I have too many. My plate is full, and I cannot eat it all. I have to just nibble away at whatever I can. I'll always be posting my questions for future guests on my Instagram stories, so check those out, and please respond. Those are awesome when I get lots of listener questions. Makes it more interactive. And thanks. My name is Ryan Reich, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and Josh and our conversation on At Clay's a 4-letter word. And I got a new friend over here, and you can't see him, but I got a dog, so I'm pretty excited about that. He's my new studio mate. He's gonna make me wet mop and clean my floors more often, so he doesn't die of silicosis, because it's a thing. Anyways, have a good one, and thanks for listening. Peace.